Daniel Caesar's newest album, Never Enough, is finally out, and we're gonna talk about it.
Was really broke, living with this with my girl at the time. A lot of sex all day, all the time. There's nothing really else to do.
So, I've already reviewed a Daniel Caesar album. I did Fruitian, and I enjoyed it. You can go watch it, I'm not gonna talk about it here. But after hearing and he was dropping another album, I was like, oh, I'll listen to it. I'm a fan. I've listened to all of his other albums, and I think they're all pretty fine. They're good. None of them are bad, and so I was excited for this. And then hearing the singles, "Do You Like Me," "Let Me Go," I really enjoyed both of those. And then Valentina, I that's probably my least favorite song on this album. We'll get into all that later, but I will say my expectations weren't very high for this album. I knew I was gonna listen to it, but I was never like, oh my god, new Daniel Caesar, I'm so excited, you know? I was like, I'll listen to it. I bet it's gonna be pretty good. I liked the singles. I liked Do You Like Me? I really enjoyed it when it came out. And same with Let Me Go. I think Let Me Go is probably my favorite song off this album. And we'll talk about the songs later. My expectations weren't that high. They weren't low either. I didn't think it was going to be bad. I thought it was going to be good. And I said my expectations were met. I didn't think this album was bad, but it didn't like blow me away or anything. Now this album is pretty long. It's 15 songs. I think it's about 50 minutes, so it's average length. It's longer than Fruitian, but honestly, it doesn't feel longer because Fruitian is 10 songs. All of them are like 4+ minutes, and so Fruitian can kind of feel a little boring at points. I talked about this in my Fruitian review. Go watch it. But this album is kind of the same. Most of the songs on here are 4 minutes long. There are some 3 minute long songs, and I think like 2 2 minute longs. So none of them are that short. But even with the length of the songs, they still don't get boring. There is one small portion of the album, I think from like Cool to Buyer's Remorse. I think those are my least favorite songs. Like those three is probably my least favorite run. It's when it just kind of feels like nothing. At least I didn't really enjoy any of those tracks that much. I thought they were all fine. And this is kind of the same with Freudian. There are some tracks where I'm like, this, at least I didn't enjoy that much, so I was a little bored by it. But most of the songs I think were fine. None of them got boring to me, even though they are about 4 minutes long each. So I was surprised how fast this went by for it being 50 minutes. Now I also think this album does have some of Daniel Caesar's best songs, at least in my opinion. Before this album came out, I'd probably say Get You or Best Part is my favorite Daniel Caesar song. But right now, I'd probably say it's Let Me Go or Always, both off this album. And this album has some amazing songs. Do You Like Me, Let Me Go, and Always. That three-run track, the three track run, whatever. Those three songs are amazing. They're so good. And just going back to back to back, it's just phenomenal. Now, I will say those are the only three songs that I've added to my playlist so far. I have only listened to it once, so I'll probably go back because I did like a lot of other songs on this album, stuff that I need to re-listen to again. But there were also some songs which I wasn't the biggest fan of, like Valentina and Cool are really the only songs that I didn't like that much. I didn't think they were bad, but I thought they were nothing special, nothing that I would listen to again because they're just kind of basic and boring. Besides those two and the three that I really enjoyed, I think every other song was great. They're all good songs. I think some of them can get a little boring at points, but for the most part, they're not forgettable, and I would enjoy listening to them again. And this album does have some features on it. Mustafa, Serpent with Feet, Omar Apollo, and Ty Dolla $ign. And I didn't think they were anything special. I would say Omar Apollo is probably my least favorite. And that's I'm a big Omar Apollo fan. But, you know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Buyer's Remorse. Ty Dolla $ign, he did good, but he always does good on features. He just has a good singing voice that mixes well with a lot of people. Serpent with Feet, I have no idea who that is. I'm gonna be honest. Disillusioned, thought it was fine, and same with Toronto 2014 with Mustafa. I thought they were fine. I didn't hate any of those songs. In fact, I liked most of them. Like I said, Buyer's Remorse is probably in the bottom three of this album for me with Omar Apollo. So that song I wasn't the biggest fan of. I think the uh auto tune that Daniel Caesar uses is a little bit weird. Plus mixed with the normal voice of Omar Apollo. At least for me, it didn't fit that well. But I don't think that song was horrible either. Now, I will say I wasn't blown away by this album. Like I said earlier, my expectations weren't. They were medium. I thought it was going to be good. I thought I would enjoy it, but I wasn't expected to be blown away. I didn't expect to hate it either. And I liked it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. It wasn't boring, and it had some amazing songs on it. But I wasn't blown away like the reviews you'd see on TikTok were. Now, I'm hesitant to say this is his best work. Now, I have reviewed Fruitian. I've said it 1,000 times. You can go watch it. I'd say this is probably tied with Fruitian, maybe a little bit lower than it. I think it's better than the other two albums, Case Study and the one I can't remember the name of. I wasn't the biggest fan of either of those, but I did enjoy them. But I do think Never Enough is better than both of those. So I'd say it's probably his second best album right now. But it's close. It's a close second to Fruitian. But with all of that said, after listening to Never Enough by Daniel Caesar, I'm going to say I like it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it as much as I hoped I would. But it does have some amazing songs that I highly recommend you listen to. Do You Like Me? Let Me Go Always. I will preach those songs. Those are probably some of Daniel's best and some of my favorite from him. But this also does have its fair share of mediocre songs. I wouldn't say any of the songs on this album are bad, but I would say it gets basic at points. I think Valentina is probably my least favorite song on here. And just because it wasn't special, it just sounded very basic and forgettable to me. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I know this is like the third Quickie Critique in a row. We're back to normal cryptic critiques next week, I think, unless a new album comes out. But that's it. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all so much for watching the last video on the record. I saw it's got like a little bit less than 400 views at the time I'm recording this. That's pretty cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.